History often tells us what happened. It rarely tells us why certain things had to be destroyed. Because sometimes what gets erased isn't dangerous because it's violent. It's dangerous because it empowers people. That was the case with Vodou in Haiti. To understand the Haitian Revolution, you don't start with battles. You start with fear. Not the fear of the enslaved, but the fear of those who ruled them. In 1685, France passed a law known as the Code Noir. On paper, it regulated slavery. In reality, it targeted something far more threatening than bodies. It targeted belief. African spiritual practices were banned outright. Ancestral rituals, ceremonies, and drumming are criminalized. Enslaved Africans were forcibly baptized into Christianity. Not as a choice, not as salvation, as control. Because African religions did something that Christianity, as imposed, could not. They unified people across languages. They preserved identity. They remembered ancestry. They reminded the enslaved that they were human beings, not property. That was unacceptable. Christianity, as enforced by the colonial system, taught obedience, suffering as virtue, hierarchy as divine order, freedom deferred to the afterlife. Vodou, by contrast, affirmed life now, so it had to be erased. But belief doesn't disappear just because it's outlawed. It adapts. Vodou went underground, not as superstition, but as strategy. It became a shared language that the enslavers couldn't decode, a moral framework that justified resistance, a psychological shield against dehumanization. Vodou didn't tell people to wait. It reminded them they still existed, and in a system built on erasing existence. That alone was revolutionary. This is where Cécile Fatiman enters the story. She was a Vodou priestess, a manbo, a keeper of forbidden knowledge. A spiritual leader in a world that tried to silence black women completely. In 1791, at a place called Bois Caïman, enslaved Africans from different nations, plantations, and languages gathered in secret. They had no shared tongue, no shared weapons, no shared legal protection. What they shared was belief. Fatiman helped lead the ceremony that night, not to summon violence, but to create unity. Vodou provided something no army could: permission. Permission to resist. Permission to believe victory was possible. Permission to see rebellion not as sin, but as survival. This matters. Because Vodou didn't cause the Haitian Revolution, it made the Haitian Revolution possible. What followed wasn't chaos, it was an organization. Formerly enslaved people coordinated uprisings across plantations. They fought and defeated the armies of France, Britain, and Spain. Empires fell to people who were supposed to be property. In 1804, Haiti became the first black republic in the world, the first nation born from a successful slave revolt. That fact alone shattered the ideology of racial slavery, and that's when the punishment began. Once control failed militarily, it shifted narratively. Vodou was demonized, labeled savage, evil, irrational, not because it was violent, but because it worked. If Vodou was seen as wisdom, then slavery looked like a crime. If Vodou was seen as evil, then resistance could be dismissed as chaos. So the story was rewritten. Haiti was isolated, economically strangled, forced to pay for its own freedom. And Vodou, the belief system that helped enslaved people win, was blamed for the nation's suffering. But here's the truth history tries to avoid. Vodou didn't threaten power because it was dark. It threatened power because it reminded people who they were. It preserved memory when memory was illegal. It created unity where division was policy. It gave courage when obedience was demanded. And that is why it had to be destroyed. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded. The Haitian Revolution wasn't just a war for land or freedom. It was a war over who gets to define humanity. And that question has never stopped being dangerous.